Ghislaine Maxwell, co-conspirator and draconian facilitator of recently deceased sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein. She was recently arrested and jailed. This chart has a verified birth time, so we know what rise is, we know the degrees that rise, and we also know the order of the signs. I'll start by saying that since I have an exact time, this chart may merit a deeper dive, which if I go into, I will be sure to report in a future video. But for now, I will say that just at a glance, the chart reveals how truly amazing astrology can be in revealing the truth and poetry of a situation, even if in this case we're talking about a kind of reprehensible dungeon poetry. Notice all the natal planet action in Capricorn, which happens to be the sex house, the 8th. What could be more fitting to describe what amounted to organized, administered, strategized sex than to put Capricorn, the pure sign of government and administration, in the 8th house of sex? And lots of Capricorn too. 4 planets, including the Sun, Mars, Mercury, which rules the ascendant, and Saturn, which rules the Sun. Also, the part of fortune, for good measure. So, a ton of Capricorn energy in the sex house. The Leo moon, and especially opposite Jupiter across the midheaven axis, will fill in the requirements for the pleasures of recreational sex. In Leo, taken to an expanded indulgent level, Jupiter, and the craving to work with not just 1 or 2 girls, but lots of them, Aquarius, even including group sex. Square Neptune and Scorpio will reinforce sex further as the driving motive. With 6 of Ghislaine planets in the 3rd quadrant of relationship, houses 7, 8, and 9, she is all set up to be a partner and facilitator, and the dark side of all that Capricorn will help her to scheme and manipulate to get things done. Capricorn can be the best of all managers, but they can be in just about any profession, from the highest to the lowest profile, so you have to first find out where they are practicing their craft to determine if it is being done responsibly and with a wish and a will to benefit and protect society, which would be the highest Capricorn expression, or if their project in whole or in part has been diverted into servicing the ego, in which case the results can be anything from just ineffective to possibly quite effective, but also corrupt. In this case, it's pretty clear that no rationalization could ever justify the evil this woman descended into. You can never pay enough money to a young person, no matter their situation or needs, to repair the damage you will do to their psyche when you force this kind of bargain on them. Most telling of all may be that Pluto right on the lowest point of the chart. The highest degree for the day is the zenith. Her Pluto is at the nadir, the lowest degree. This is the personal base, and often points to what sustains and motivates, the driving force in a person's life. Pluto there points to debased sexuality, high-octane sex, taboo-type sex, dangerous sex. Sex when you completely detach it from reproduction and even ordinary pleasure. For this you need to go into power games, BDSM, etc., as befits the myth of Pluto abducting Persephone and taking her into the underworld. Adding to the driving power of a planet precisely on the nadir is the fact that it squares the ascendant-descendant. Gemini rising and Venus setting in Sagittarius will give her all the communication and charm to help her get what she wants. In the transits, it's pretty clear that it all hinges on the late Saturn in Capricorn, late in the sign, because it is getting a double planet in Capricorn conjunction from Jupiter and Saturn, transiting over it during 2020. If the rest of 2020 isn't dangerous enough, with the ruling planet in your chart getting all this attention in such a dangerous house, Uranus is already squaring her Jupiter this year, showing her 9th house legal troubles. And by next year, we'll be transiting deeper in Taurus, fully activating the fixed T-square formed by Moon, Neptune, and Jupiter. Uranus is not aspecting other planets too badly at birth, but I doubt it will be helpful in that kind of formation. And in any case, just the action to the natal Saturn alone is enough to make this situation extremely dangerous. Notice also that this is her Saturn return year, a transit that comes every 30 years or so, and correlates with the closing of a major chapter and the beginning of another. It tends to be a huge karmic accountability point, for good or bad, depending on what you've done. I would say getting arrested and placed in the slammer at this time would have to be considered a huge negative in the karmic accounts. If she survives until 2022, she faces the square to Venus from Neptune, another really problematic cycle since Neptune is dynamic at birth, being in a T-square, and Venus rules the 12th house.